So it's no surprise that with the recent honing buffs up to 1490, there is a large influx of new 1490s. Whether it's old veterans on new alts or totally new Green Makoko players, a lot of these guys share the same thing in common, and that is they are afraid of the big bad Prokel. So in this video today, my goal is to hopefully familiarize yourself with some of the more important attack patterns that Prokel can do so you feel more confident in being a backup Prokel killer. You don't need to be perfect. Nobody's going to get upset at you if you aren't. Being able to say you know some patterns and can at least chunk off some HP, if not maybe even finish off Prokel entirely, is a very valuable thing. If there's no juicer in your group, on-item level runs can be quite stressful, especially for the Prokel killer if nobody else even has the slightest clue as to what Prokel does, so nobody wants to back up when the 1490 on-item level Prokel killer inevitably dies, and Prokel's at 20 bars and nobody can finish Prokel. I've seen many runs where everyone is so terrified of going in that supports get shoved in because everyone is trying to give the Prokel line away because nobody wants to do Prokel. This video is not meant to entirely guide you through how to kill Prokel in one run from start to end, but again, familiarize yourself with some of these mechanics so you can feel confident as a backup Prokeler. Now, let's get on with the video. So you want to be a backup Prokel killer, do you? Well, first things first, let's start off with the battle items. You should be bringing sleep bombs and time stops. These are non-negotiable. These are two very important battle items that we will be using frequently when fighting Prokel. So the next thing we should be looking at before we go in is our skills, and our tripods specifically. We're looking for hard crowd control on our tripods. Pretty much every class in the game has some sort of hard crowd control skill or tripod, and if you are planning on doing Prokel, you should probably consider taking this. Yes, it may lower your overall output or make your rotation a little bit iffy outside, but it's important to have if you are going to be fighting Prokel. And I'll expand on this a bit later, but essentially Prokel has two modes. He has boss PvE mode, and then he has PvP mode where he can be hard CC'd over and over. And obviously the more hard CC you have, the less Prokel moves, the less damage he can possibly do. You see, it just kind of snowballs on itself. So let me elaborate now on the PvE versus PvP mode of Prokel. Prokel starts the fight with 160 health bars, and he will alternate between being in PvE mode and PvP mode. What do I mean by PvE and PvP? Well, PvE mode is your typical boss. He will not track you with any of his attacks. He will attack, and then it'll keep going in that direction. You can't CC him, etc. PvP mode, it's a bit more like a player. He will hone onto your character, so with his attacks, if he slashes forward and then he does another slash afterwards, he will turn to aim towards you again with the second slash. Why is this important? Well, PvP mode is arguably one of the easier modes of Prokel if you know how to handle it. Otherwise, it can be quite difficult. Prokel will change between PvE and PvP mode roughly every 40 health bars, 35-40 health bars, so you will see each mode about 2 times. So this is a clear that I recorded on my Striker. My Striker is about 1500 item level. He is 1500 item level, and I chose Striker for a simple reason, and that is he's a back attack class and not typically a class that does Prokel. So my damage is significantly lowered most of the time, as landing back attacks is very inconsistent, especially in PvP mode. So you start off the fight in PvE mode. Prokel in this mode is fairly... He's fairly harmless, and I say this knowing full well that he can kill you and has killed me many times. But what I mean by that is, Prokel pretty much, you let him do a move, then you do a move. You let him do a move, and then you do a move. You'll notice in the video, I literally just sit there and wait for him to cast a spell, and then I will attack. The main reason why I died during Prokel, and a lot of people die during Prokel, is they just get impatient, and then they take a bad pattern, and they die. But you see here, you just wait for Prokel to do a pattern, and then you use an attack. It's slow and steady, but it gets the job done. And as you get more and more comfortable with Prokel, you're able to attack more because you're more comfortable with the timings. Prokel does have a couple of different counterable patterns, but even me, somebody who's done multiple Prokels a week for the last 8 months or however long Belshazzar has been out, I still don't go for the counters. I think they are very inconsistent at best and not worth it if you miss them, because typically you get stunned or hit with a high damage attack. Again, you just see here, you trade shot for shot with Prokel. We're getting close to where he phases. He's about to go into PvP mode, and then in PvP mode we have a little bit more thing to work with. So this is the transition into PvP mode. If you were doing this in a real raid, you'd have Sidereal here. You can Sidereal during the transition phase, as well as when they stagger Prokel outside. The main thing you'll notice here is Prokel's attacks get amplified, so that red slash becomes a dot on the ground that lasts after it slashes. So again, you just have to sort of be aware of the changes to his abilities, and you will notice that he is turning towards you every time he casts another spell. This is one of the one-shot attacks. You can either time stop it before it goes off, or more consistently, I would recommend CCing it. You can see I have a lot of patterns where I know I can precast a spell and get some damage, and you'll notice a lot of them are not back attacks. Again, that is part of the reason why I chose Striker for this. And you'll see there I was invulnerable. That is because I picked up the strength orb looking thing called the Phantom Jewel. The Phantom Jewel makes you invulnerable for, I believe, 8 or 10 seconds. It's kind of nice little DPS window. Again, Prokel does the red slashes, but I freeze him out of it. This is his red lines, where if you get hit by that, you will be imprisoned and one-shot. You can time stop it, or you can dodge it like shown in the video. Typically, I will dodge it unless I am in a very bad position with no spacebar, no mobility, because conserving time stops can mean life or death in some scenarios. This yellow light is a stagger check. A lot of people seem to mistake that for this, which is the frost one. Just use anything that makes you immune to CC, or you can spacebar it before it goes off. If you're going to spacebar it for the immunity before it goes off, I just look at Prokel's body, and as soon as he starts moving his arm, I spacebar. As far as deadly patterns go, we have pretty much seen every single deadly pattern. It's mostly just the lasers that you have to CC or time stop. And then the other big one is the imprisonment lines, where he spawns a bunch of clones. And again, just time stop that. Don't try to dodge it if you aren't comfortable with it. Everything else you can kind of see is very self-explanatory. It's just dodging his patterns, and then CCing him when you can to get free hits in. Striker also isn't the best for PvP mode. Again, another reason why I chose Striker for this demonstration. And that is because if you have a class that has a lot of paralysis and natural CC, such as Shadowhunter, PvP mode is quite literally just free. There's no other way to say it. It's just super free. Another thing, I recommend not fighting Prokel towards the edge of the arena, as it can be very wonky and make his attacks do some weird things. Again, we're in PvE mode again, so we just let him go and then we take our turn. A little tip for this laser pizza pattern: the start and the third laser will always alternate. What I mean by that is the second laser can be on top of the exact same spot as the first laser, but the first laser and the third laser are always in alternate spots. You can kind of see it's just almost entirely pattern recognition from here on out. You've seen everything Prokel can do at this point. The basic patterns, I don't really have any good advice for other than you just need to practice it. And once you're able to identify what he's doing and what you need to do in order to counter it, Prokel becomes pretty easy. Obviously, there's always ways to die. Prokel does a lot of damage, especially on item level, but really he is not as intimidating as he may seem at first glance. Anyways, I'm going to let the rest of this video play out. I do finish off Prokel here, but hopefully this has given you at least a little bit of confidence that you may need in order to become a backup Prokel killer. I've been Brother Chris. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, leave a comment down below, and happy Prokel killing. Thank you to my YouTube members, XOXO. Bye.